Hey everybody, Jeff, your executive gardener. It's around June 10th in Houston, Texas. The weather is 100 degrees. It's been 100 degrees for, I believe, the past week or so. So this is going to be a video about this and that and just answer a bunch of questions. I may ramble, just bear with me. Anyway, you're looking at the cucumber vine. Again, I've talked a lot about the cucumber vine. I actually just got back. I was out of the country for a week. My parents were here. They watched my kids. Anyway, my wife and I got out of the country, and this cucumber vine, the pickling cucumber vine that I talked about in the last video, just keeps putting out cucumbers. I can't stop it. So as you'll see, these are just perfect size cucumbers. I picked a bunch yesterday, and I have more today. So I'll just keep picking these, and again, if you haven't got them, please get them. But I'm going to do some this and that in this video. Bear with me, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. I'll show you what's going on in the backyard. Pretty much the only things that will grow now, and I'm going to talk about tomatoes in a second, which won't grow now if they're not already blossomed and turned to fruit. I'll take you also over to Tony's garden and show you what's going on and the progress we're making there. So here we go. So to start with, let's take a look at my lemon tree. The lemon tree is loaded with lemons. This is a dwarf lemon tree, just loaded, completely loaded with Meyer lemons, okay? We're all over this tree. And I apologize about the background noise. That's my pool, but I'm not going to turn it off. Hopefully I'll speak loud enough and y'all can hear me. So lemon tree, again, nothing in Texas ever stays dwarf. This thing is supposed to be 3 to 5 feet. But with the amount of rain and heat and sun that we get, it's actually about 7 to 8 feet right now. Just absolutely loaded with lemons on all sides of it. In addition, as most of you know, I also have another smaller lemon tree that's in a pot. So any of you that happen to live in apartments, you'll see this one is loaded with lemons too, okay? And you can still grow a ton of lemons. I'll probably get 40 or so lemons off of this tree, and it's just doing spectacular. So you got to make sure you keep up with the nutrients, but the lemon trees did not die in the minor frost that we had here in Houston, Texas. Let me show you my white eggplant that I'm growing as well. So I've never really been successful in growing eggplant before, but this is the first year. So I had some extra spare space behind these trees, and I planted these in the ground. As you'll see, there's lots of flowers, and get down in there, there's lots of eggplant. So as you'll see here, there's a few eggplant that are starting off doing fairly well and looking pretty good. This one right there, and there's another plant with a few pods on it as well. Kind of interesting because when eggplants start, they start in these pods. I guess these are female flowers, and these are the male flowers, beautiful flowers, and anyway, they just start booming. There's another one that'll grow, and really good. So I'm pretty happy with my production so far, and there's 3 eggplant on each so far. And also, when I take you over to the garden that I'm doing at Tony's house, we've got some purple eggplant. They're doing well as well. So let me show you my side garden. I'm going to talk a little bit today about tomatoes, okay? So let's go over there now. Alright, so one of the interesting things about tomato plants, and I get a lot of questions on tomato plants, and tomatoes are probably one of the most popular vegetables or fruit to grow by gardeners. And as you'll see here on these plants, I have tons of tomato, okay? And in Houston, Texas right now, again, it's been 100 degrees, it's very hot. You'll see I have a lot of tomatoes. The reason I have a lot of tomatoes is a number of reasons. Good gardening practice, good nutrition, but also the flowers, which you'll see on some of these plants, like right here, these flowers turned to fruit before it was 100 degrees, okay? So in general, that's the #1 question I get from gardeners is it too hot to start planting tomatoes? And the general answer is this. And I know I'm gonna have some people say, well, there's heat tolerant varieties and you can put shade cloth over it and so forth and so on. And to some extent, you may be correct sometimes. But in general, the general rule of thumb is that obviously tomatoes like heat, 80 degrees, 90 degrees. But if the weather does not get below 75 degrees at night, the flowers, which you'll see there, will not turn into fruit. Okay, so they will stay just as flowers, and they will die just like you see these things. They did not produce fruit, okay? They just died. So as a general rule of thumb, and again, I know there's exceptions, you need to be below 75 degrees at night. If it does not get below 75 degrees at night, you won't have fruit if those flowers haven't turned to fruit already. So it's a good thing to know. And if you live in the South, like Texas, it's too late probably to grow tomatoes unless you're, I guess, growing them inside and there's a sunny window and so forth, but too hot outside at this time. And I'll prove my point in a second. And there's some additional nice looking tomatoes. I'll show you a few more here. My mom's been here all week and she has picked no less than 50 to 70, and we've given them to everybody from the lady who cuts my hair to everybody, but everybody loves tomatoes. So let's take a look at my other tomato plants, and to prove my point here, I do have other tomato plants, and you'll see they've grown up through the chicken wire, okay? I did get some tomatoes here, and I've picked them already, but the problem, and you'll see as this continues to grow and vine out, let's take a look at the top here, you'll see that there's no tomatoes, okay? There's no tomatoes. There's a bunch of vines, there's a bunch of flowers, there's a necessary wind, there's bees, but there's no tomatoes. And the reason, again, is it's not getting below 75 degrees at night. It's that simple. So there's nothing I can really do with these plants at this point in time. So I'm going to cut them down because as pretty as these vines look and these flowers, they won't produce fruit, okay? And that's just the way it is. I'll be ready for the fall season. I'll cut these down so the plants don't steal the additional nutrients from my garden. I'll recompost and work again in the fall. But that's a tricky thing that we have here in Houston, Texas, because, or anywhere in the South, is that it gets so hot so quick. We really have two seasons, winter and summer, okay? Now, if you're up in, Zone 7, Zone 6, Michigan, Baltimore, Northern California, parts of Oregon, where it's getting below 75 at night, you're fine. You'll be fine. But in the deep South where I am, which is typically Zone 8, 9, 10, it's over. It's over for tomatoes. So I'm going to let these continue to ripen up and turn red, give them to friends, eat them, etc. But I don't expect any more production. So again, that's the number one question I do get from people who see my tomatoes video. Is it too late? Again, for the fourth time, I want to make sure you hear me. If it doesn't get below 75 at night, it's too late, okay? Your flowers won't turn into fruit. So let's take a trip. Let's go over to Tony's garden and take a look at how that's doing. And you can look back 4 or 5 videos ago to see when we started to first plant that out. He's been nice enough. He's going to be away parts of the summer to allow me to garden his plot. And in return, I will share certainly some of the produce and fruit. All right, stay tuned. All right, here we are over at my friend Tony's garden. You'll see it's starting to grow out. Then we have a bunch of stuff planted here. So what we did is along the side, we planted cucumbers. And you'll see here from the video that there are cucumbers. It's the same cucumber that was at my place. You'll see it's prolific, 80% female flowers. Look, cucumber, cucumber, cucumber. And we're using this fence Tony put up to allow the cucumbers to trellis up naturally. But you'll see just a ton of cucumbers on this plant. And again, we're going to make some dill pickles. So, and if we look around, let's go in the garden. Additional cucumbers trellising up. Some over here, trellising up. Another plant with cucumbers, you'll see right there, okay, and another one, okay, so lots of cucumbers. So that's what we're doing now. The squash plant hasn't done anything yet. This is the only thing that's taking up a good amount of room, but there's no squash, okay. I'm not sure if that's because of the vine borer or not. I do have a butternut squash over here that is not susceptible to vine borer, so we'll see if that produces anything. And then I believe we have some cantaloupe. Oh, actually, everything in the middle here is cantaloupe. So you'll see vines that are growing on the middle of the garden. Lots of flowers, no cantaloupe yet. And there's a cantaloupe there, and a cantaloupe there. So, in general, cucumbers have started, they're doing very well. Cantaloupe have started to flower, they're starting to vine out and do pretty well. And lots of weeds as well, so I'll have to do some weeding. Over here I wanted to show you the eggplant. The eggplant are actually doing very well, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants, and we've got some really nice beautiful eggplants. So let me get underneath the plant and show you some of them and see what's going on here. So you'll see there's some flowers that are starting there. Underneath you'll see some beautiful looking eggplant there. Okay, another one right there, and we'll turn you around. There's one right there. So we're starting to get a good amount of eggplant on these plants. There's another one down there, 2 of them down there actually, 3, 4, 5. So all of them. So the eggplant are doing exceptionally well, and you know what Tony's done very well, and he's done a really good job here, is mulching. So we don't have a lot of weeds, but certainly all these plants that I've shown you are plants that do very well in the hot summer heat. So you don't see any tomatoes. You actually see some peppers over here. Peppers will do okay. And we've got some jalapeno and some bell peppers here that have already been picked. But you won't see any tomatoes or anything that's a typical summer crop that's grown in the north. So you will see cucumber, you will see squash, you will see cantaloupe. Actually, there's a honeydew melon, a few honeydew melons in this garden as well. You will see cucumbers, but that's, and okra is another thing that will grow obviously very well. Sweet potatoes will grow very well, but not much in this tropical heat. So that's an update from my friend Tony's garden. So it looks like we've got about 8 to 10 pickling cucumbers. We'll get out of here. No squash yet, no melons, no cantaloupe yet. Some flowers, and looks to be about, in all 5 of these plants, we've got about 12 to 15 eggplant so far. So far so good. Very pleased with the progress, and we'll check in this garden soon. But take a look now. Pretty soon you'll see very little mulch, and most of these cantaloupe and melons take over, and you'll see most of the cucumbers continue to surround the circumference, these fences, with tons of cucumbers. So that's it for now from Tony's garden. Again, this is Jeff, your executive gardener, signing out. I hope to see you again next week, and I hope all of you are having a very good summer garden season, regardless of where you are. Thanks for joining me for this quick episode. Until next time, bye.